Hello everyone, my name is Pixlriffs and welcome to a Snapshot video. This is Minecraft Snapshot 24W35A, and I decided after my last video about bundles, which maybe was a little harsh, but I think I had some fair criticisms in there, I wanted to jump into a newer snapshot a couple of weeks down the line and see how bundles had progressed. Because I've been checking the changelogs, I've been noting some of the updates that the developers have made to bundles, and I really wanted to check out the survival experience, because last time we just fiddled around in creative, which is something that I typically don't do when it comes to these features. I like to see where they're at from a place in survival, and I thought that wasn't super necessary with bundles last time, but I think it's actually going to be really valuable to show the experience of getting hold of them in survival and seeing how they are useful in the early stages of the game. Because one of the major updates I failed to mention in that last video, I did catch it in the comments later, but one of the things I failed to mention is that bundles have been made a lot cheaper and a lot easier to access. They no longer require rabbit hide to craft. You need to get hold of some leather and some string, and that's it. You just need one leather and one string, and that's the new bundle crafting recipe. So I think we should be able to manage that a lot earlier in a survival world than we can look for a desert or a snow plain, somewhere that's guaranteed to have lots of rabbit spawns and get hold of enough rabbit hide to use a bundle. I think we can get hold of a bundle probably within the first few minutes, as long as we're able to find a cave that can deliver us a spider for some of that string. And this is a random seed survival world. I don't have any knowledge of the terrain previously, but it looks like we've already stumbled across a pretty large cave system, so maybe we'll end up finding some stuff down here. Either way, gonna grab myself a furnace, gonna bring the crafting table with us. Let's roll on down here, and I can already see a spider. So if this spider gives us some string, we're in business. Looks like the creeper that was in front of it despawned as well, so we should be able to deliver a couple of quick hits, and looks like the spider didn't drop any string. I also need to turn my hostile mob sounds up. Been using the mob farms in the survival guide world, and that's why they are down low. I'm going to keep looking for spiders, but this terrain is honestly pretty gorgeous. I gotta say, I really like the fact that we've got a bunch of massive caves right away, and look at that, we're already down at deep slate level. We're finding tons of iron. There's a lot more closer to the surface as well. We'll need to grab some of this, and maybe we can bundle it once we've got the ingredients to do that. But having said that, I've had to dodge around a bunch of zombies just to find another spider over here in the distance, so the string aspect of this is still a little bit of a tall order sometimes, and the spider seems to have despawned before we got there, so that's another major pitfall. I just don't want to take too much damage right now because I don't have any armor or any kind of food yet, so maybe we should go looking for the cows before we go looking for the string, yeah? Let's grab a little bit of coal just so we can make some torches, because evidently that's something I'm deficient in as well. Let's pop that down here and briefly check if there's any more spiders around before we make our way out. Well, one of the reasons I felt like being pretty incautious down there in the caves was that I could spot this village from a distance, so there's some pretty much guaranteed food around there, and if you look at this, we've got a couple of cows over here on the hillside as well, so as long as I can get over to those, we should be able to get leather from at least one of them. Let's see if we can grab some leather from you. Looks like we just got steak, and from you. There we go, 2 leather. So that's 2 bundles already, as long as we can get hold of a couple of string. Remember that spiders aren't the only source of string. Of course, peaceful players can get hold of string by taming cats and allowing the cats to bring you gifts overnight. You can get them from striders if you want to kill striders, but personally I'm a lot more of a fan of keeping striders alive. You can get them from cobwebs and abandoned mine shafts. You can even find cobwebs generating in abandoned villages where the inhabitants are all zombies. So I think it should be nice and easy for people to get hold of string, even if you're not a big fan of tracking down spiders. And that's not even mentioning stuff like dungeon loot chests. Speaking of which, we got some loot chests in here. We got ourselves a few apples, some obsidian, and an iron ingot or 2, so we should at least be able to get started with iron tools now. I figure I can make myself an iron sword to supplement my current level of gear, and then we can head back down to the caves and see if we can get some spider string this time around. Fortunately for me, they seem to have built this village on a fault line. There's a massive rift in the ground here. There's a huge ravine, and it looks like we might be able to ride some of those water streams down from the areas where the village pathways have generated, kind of eccentrically. Let's see if we can find ourselves a spider if we surf down to the depths of the earth. Well, what we found was a couple of creepers who blew me up instead, but I think I know the way back there. Yes, the road to bundles is not without its share of hazards, my friends, but I am pretty confident that we should be able to get hold of a bundle nice and quickly now that we're down here, and now that I can actually eat something. Well, I found my first diamonds before I found a spider that would give me any string, but honestly, that's just me getting lucky with the terrain here. 4 diamonds, though, not bad. Let's craft ourselves a diamond pickaxe. That should keep us going for the next little while. And it looks like we're coming out into the deep dark, which is, once again, me getting bad luck with the terrain because we won't find any mobs spawning there, although I'm hearing a spider, so let's see if we can dig towards that. Looks like we've dug out into a cave here. The spider's just around the corner, and does it give us any string? No, it doesn't. It gives us an eye, but no string. What are these spiders even doing? Well, we're 10 minutes into this world. Night has probably fallen outside. I think it might be better for us to search for spiders on the surface and then get a good night's sleep at the village than it is to dig around in these caves, although the diamond score is not too bad. And speaking of which, as luck would have it, there's actually some suspended in the ceiling right here next to the entrance to the deep dark biomes, so maybe I'll pillar up and grab these before I leave. Well, that's pretty astonishing luck. We have no armor to speak of, but we got 6 diamonds, which, if I grab some more wood, should be enough for us to fill out the rest of our tool set. Yep, out here on the surface, we have absolutely no trouble running into another spider. Hopefully this one will give us our first string. There we go. It gave us 2 string at least, so that should be enough for us to craft 2 bundles. And that can potentially be done in the regular crafting interface as well as the crafting table. It was at this point that I realized I hadn't turned on the experimental features which enable bundles to be crafted in the first place. There we go, one quick hack with NBT Explorer later, and we are able to craft a bundle. In fact, we're able to craft a bundle from the player inventory and not just a crafting table, which I think is fantastic for early game purposes. And speaking of early game purposes, now we're able to bundle up all of the stuff that's currently cluttering up my inventory, right? So let's take a look at this and let's try and prioritize these based on the ones that I think I will actually need sooner. Things like the diamonds and the iron. Those I'm going to leave to bundle last. So now we're going to bundle up things like the leather, the bones, the string, the rotten flesh, the stuff that I'm pretty sure I don't want to throw away because we might start collecting it later, but yeah, diorite can go in there as well. And as before, it's filling up the bundle in rows from right to left. And once we hover over that, we can actually scroll wheel to pick out the item that we want to remove, right click to remove it, and then left click to add it back in. I'm still getting used to the right click, left click thing, but that's just a control interface thing, which hopefully should make a little bit more sense once I've used these a bit more in our survival context. And now if I pick this up, we can bundle up stuff like the food, the diamonds, the iron, and maybe even the hay bales can go in there as well. Already I'm seeing an improvement to the UI from my last opinion on the subject, which is that you can see 3 rows of items and not just 2, which means once we start to put in more items, if I throw this cobblestone on top here, it's still displaying a decent amount of items so I know what's in here. And the plus 10 in the corner adds up all of the remaining items. That's not that I have 10 other different stacks of different items, it's that I have 10 additional items at all in here. So you're sort of still required to do the maths here. I have advanced tooltips enabled by default because of my other survival world, and so you can see it's not giving you a numerical confirmation of how full the bundle is. You're supposed to rely on this filled up progress bar, this durability looking meter that shows you how full something is, and then obviously once we've filled up the entire thing, it shows a red bar displaying that this bundle is full, which I don't think is too bad. I think that's okay. As I mentioned previously, we can still put in a couple of items. Let's say we split this stack of coal, we can throw in a few items on top of that, and then if I want the coal, I can simply left click and then right click, and I bring all of the coal back out of the depths of the bundle. We could do the same with the diamonds right now if we wanted to. I gotta say, I'm a lot happier with this implementation. I think just being able to see a few more items has really tipped it over from this feels weird into more usable territory for me. Let's set up the furnace quickly while we're here. Let's smelt some of this iron that I've got bundled. I'm just trying to get used to the control scheme again, and I really don't think it's going to take me that long to adjust once these are fully implemented in the game. And right now, we've got a reasonable amount of stuff stored in there. The bundle is nearly half full. We can still see all of the items. And this is the thing, really. My favorite argument when people say that the bundle should just act like shulker boxes or chests and have a larger inventory is that individually, you can store up to 64 unique items in a bundle. And in order to store 64 unique items, if they weren't all taking up the same inventory space, then you would need like 3 shulker boxes in order to do that, right? Because each shulker box can only hold 27 items, and if they're all taking up an individual inventory slot with none of them being able to stack together, that's 2.5 shulker boxes basically before you had enough room to store all of those items, where the bundle can store them all in a single inventory space. It's a lot more convenient for storing bits and pieces of stuff than shulker boxes are. Not only that, but bundles and shulker boxes can work in harmony. In fact, bundles and any container can work in harmony pretty well. Let's say this is a container that I'm using to store a lot of the building blocks in my world. I'm using it to store, you know, cobblestone and deep slate and everything else like that, right? But let's say, for example, once I've smelted up a bit more stone and I have myself a stone cutter, I'm going to want to make variants of those blocks. And so in terms of cobblestone, obviously we can make slabs, we can make stairs, we can make walls. Suddenly, just the cobblestone is now taking up 4 inventory slots when I have leftover stairs and slabs and walls, because even with a stone cutter, you often find yourself expecting to use a few more stairs and slabs than you actually use, and there's just going to be one or two of these lurking in your inventory, taking up valuable space. Enter the bundle, because now, assuming that we're just going to throw all of those contents on the floor, all of the variants of those items can be stashed in the bundle, and you leave all of the cobblestone stuff in there. And right now it's perfectly visible as part of this bundle, because we've got 3 variants in there, and we'd need to fill up more than 12 different variants for it to hide items from you. Let's do the same with deep slate, because boy, are there a lot of different combinations of materials with deep slate. Let's say we make one of basically everything we can here. Deep slate stairs, bricks, walls, tiles, polished deep slate, all the combinations. Now we can use the bundle to stash all of those as well. Let's put all of them in there, and even with deep slate and cobblestone stored in the same bundle, we're not exceeding the capacity of the bundle for showing us what blocks are in here in the UI, but we have saved an absolute ton of space, because if we were to leave all of these out here in the chest, oh my goodness, that's a lot of items that are now taking up space in here that could be full stacks of items. Once again, the bundle helps you use inventory space more efficiently. And I'm starting to get used to that left-click, right-click behavior, to be honest. I think I'm finding it a little bit more palatable right now. So the bundle's really useful for tidying away stuff like this so that you can store more and more stacks of cobblestone, and, you know, the little blocks like the occasional diorite or the occasional block variants can all get stored inside of a bundle to help you save space. We can also make another bundle right here and right now so that I can stash away all of the other stuff in my inventory, and multiple bundles is a perfectly viable way to play this game. Look at how little all of this inventory is taking up when, if I throw the contents of both of these bundles on the ground right now and stash them in my inventory, I can barely hold all of these items. Like, that's basically a full inventory of items, right? We can still make stuff with the diamonds. We got some unstackables there that obviously won't go in the bundles because the bundle can only hold one unstackable item before it's full. It can only hold 64 items, and that's still an outstanding problem with inventory that I'm sure Mojang will have a solution for further down the line. But for now, I can really tidy up everything that's in my inventory. I could probably bundle away basically everything that I've got here into a single bundle, including these last 6 diamonds, and I've still got room for my coal in my inventory and an empty bundle there ready to receive anything else. So if you just want to use the bundles as an out of sight, out of mind thing, obviously it's hiding a lot of the information from you for all of the stuff that you have in here, but at least we're able to see a decent amount of items. Like, we can see 10 of the items that are in this bundle right now. I think that's a lot better than 5 or whatever it was last time when we ended up hiding a bunch of stuff further down the bundle. And in this case, I'm fairly familiar with the contents of this. One thing I would absolutely love for them to add as they're working on new features for the bundles is the ability to dye them so they can be color-coded, and that way the grey bundle, you know, is going to have all of the stone variants and building blocks and stuff in, while the cyan bundle might be dyed so that that's where you store all the precious stuff because it's the color of diamonds. Naturally, renaming the bundle in an anvil could do the same thing, would whip up an anvil and do that right now if I had enough iron for it, but unfortunately the blacksmith doesn't have one. Let's move on to my preferred use case for bundles that I've actually used whenever I've had them as an experimental feature in a survival world, let's say Empires or SOS, when I've used bundles pretty extensively. My preferred use case for bundles in servers and whenever I'm using them long-term in survival is actually to keep some of these workstation blocks in them, like the crafting table, the stone cutter, and the furnace, even an ender chest once we get hold of one of those, because, let's face it, these are all individual blocks that you only ever want one of. You're not going to have a stack of them in your inventory unless you're like me and you make crafting tables unnecessarily all the time, but even then you are going to find yourself having those workstations on you so that you can do some building or smelt stuff on the fly, and that means they're taking up space in your inventory that could be an entire stack of building blocks. So instead, what the bundle's going to do for you is keep those available to you, and now with this interface that you can scroll through using your mouse scroll wheel, we can grab the stone cutter anytime, or if we leave the stone cutter in there, we can go straight to the crafting table, which is a significant improvement over what bundles were capable of doing before. Because now, let's say I want to get to my ender chest. If it's buried at the bottom of the bag, I can just pull the ender chest out without having to go through and empty out the last few things in the bundle until I could get to the ender chest, and that's actually pretty valuable. Right now I put the furnace in there deep. If I want to grab the furnace out, again, I'm getting used to the controls here, but I can just scroll over to it and nab it out of the bundle nice and quickly. I think that's pretty good now that I'm using it a little bit more. I'm gonna get inside because it's raining and I feel like hopping into this cartographer's house and maybe taking their workstation, so I can put that further down my bundle as well. While we're talking about bundle interactions though, I should highlight that it is no longer possible to change what item you're looking at in the bundle based on number key inputs from a keyboard anymore. Previously, if you wanted to go 1, 2, 3, 4, you could do that with the number keys on your number key row on your keyboard. And for accessibility reasons, I could see why that would be a good implementation, but one of the things I really missed from bundles was the ability to hotkey them around your inventory, and this is something that they highlighted in a recent changelog they were happier with players doing. So to recap, when I move items around in my inventory, a lot of the time, because my inventory can get kind of full, I end up using the number keys to immediately swap whatever I'm looking at with something that's, say, in the number 1 slot of my hotbar. I can swap between these coal and these torches just by pressing the number 1 key, moving it to the number 1 space on my hotbar. And I use bundles for that kind of thing quite a lot, and so it was weird that you couldn't use the number keys to move them to and from the hotbar, moving them in and out of your inventory. Especially since a lot of the time when you've got a lot of stuff in a bundle, you want to move it to your hotbar so that you can just empty the contents on the floor, gather them all up, and then stash them in a chest when you want to. And I can totally see for accessibility purposes how this might feel a little bit strange that you can no longer use the number keys, but considering they're allowing us to see more than 2 rows of items here, you got to consider that after a certain point, it's not really going to be feasible to hotkey to certain items here in your bundle because you run out of numbers. You can only do that for the first 10 numbers before you're using like the plus and minus keys. So I think the scroll wheel only option, while it might not be suitable for everybody's control scheme, is a pretty decent compromise, all things considered. Okay, so enough talk about the bundle. Let's actually go out and use it. I'm going to knock down a few trees here so I have enough planks to make A, some torches, and B, those diamond tools that we've been sitting on for the last little while. Let's pull the crafting table out of the bundle like so. We'll get ourselves a diamond sword, a diamond axe, and a diamond shovel. I'm also going to make a shield while I'm at it because I've not been able to defend myself from anything this whole time. Obviously, some people are still going to find it a sticking point that we can't stack non-stackable items inside a bundle and hold something like these leftover swords and iron pickaxes and tools that are taking up valuable inventory space. And I hope a solution for that is going to come further down the line, but for now, it doesn't quite make sense that the bundles are going to do it given their other restrictions. And even just adding a little bit of space for unstackable items in a bundle, let's say you expanded it to 2 stacks, you could still only hold this iron sword and this iron pickaxe, which is only clearing out a couple of spaces in your inventory before you just start wanting more and more space and it becomes something like the size of a chest. So instead, I'm going to stash all of my old tools in here. We're going to keep hold of a couple of things that I think might be useful. We'll stash the bones away in this bundle. We'll keep this one for mob drops and other items. Maybe precious resources can go in there as well. We could even stash away the hay before we turn more of that into bread, and the apples, considering we're not using them right now. So consumables can go in here, and the workstations can go in there, and that's a pretty effective setup, I think, right now. And what better way to test the effectiveness of this setup than by coming back down here into this cave and also potentially grabbing a little bit more bundle crafting material from some of the spiders down here. There we go. We got another string. We are still waiting on some more leather from some cows, but we will get hold of that another time. And I'm going to go on a little mining trip here. We'll spend maybe half an hour, maybe an hour down here in the mines, and I'm going to see if I ever run out of inventory space using my bundle as effectively as I can, or whether the bundle is simply the best thing to happen to the inventory since the advent of shulker boxes. There's also a baby glow squid down here. I did not know baby squids were a thing. It doesn't still drop glow ink though, right? Nope, okay, just dies and leaves nothing, but baby squid are in the game now? That's something I didn't even see in the changelogs. Anyway, I'm going to mine for iron, diamonds, redstone. I'm going to grab everything I can. We're going to bundle it up or keep it in my inventory. I'm maybe going to take a dip into the deep dark if I feel brave enough, and we're going to see how well the bundle does at keeping our inventory clear and clean. Okay, so not too far into the deep dark, I lucked into a huge iron vein, and these are always worth mining out because you get a ton of additional resources in the landscape around them. I've been down here this whole time, and as you can see from my hotbar right now, my pickaxe is about to break. It's on like 26 durability, so 25 blocks from now, this thing is going to shatter. I haven't put fortune or unbreaking or anything on it, which naturally I would do in the course of a normal survival Minecraft playthrough, but I also have not been to the surface once since starting mining down here, and as you can see, I'm still collecting resources, my inventory isn't chock full of stuff, and the bundles are really helping with that. So I'm going to talk you through, once this pickaxe breaks, the best way, there we go, of storing stuff in a bundle in early game, because I think this is really crucial to understanding why these are so valuable. First of all, my inventory, as you can see right now, is mostly full of bulk resources, so all of the tough and deep slate that I'm naturally accumulating as I mine through this huge iron vein. Not really a whole lot you can do about that, but what you can do is tidy away the precious resources into a place where they're not going to be taking up as much inventory space. Basically, every precious resource can be made into a block, right? We've got blocks of raw copper and raw iron building up in here. Every time I end up with enough iron to turn it into a block of raw, I do that, and that keeps it in one inventory space instead of occupying like 5 or 6 spaces of inventory just with raw iron items. Whatever's left, I put into the bundle, and the cool thing about that is once we end up with more than 9 there, I can turn that into another raw block. Only takes up 1 additional part of the stack there, and I have fewer items to put back into the bundle, which creates more space. And it's creating space for stuff like redstone dust and diamonds that we're not going to get in such large quantities, or stuff that we can basically use the bundle for the leftovers of. So if I've got a bunch of copper, for example, I can tuck whatever's left into the bundle. I've already got a little bit further down the bundle, like you can see there. And then we just end up turning all of that into a raw block, and then tucking away the 4 or 5 that I've got left into the bundle for safekeeping. And that means, as you can see, we're storing an additional 23 items, and there are decorative stone types in there. There's a little bit more raw material further down. There's lapis, there's gold, all of the precious items that can't be stacked into full blocks, and some that can, actually. If you look at the lapis and the diamonds, the stuff we're getting less regularly, that stuff goes into the bundle, and it makes sure that the rest of our inventory space can be used for stuff that's going to hit a full stack and can't be condensed. Then stuff like the crafting table goes away in this bundle, and that's going to open up more inventory space as well. And like I said, I've not had to go to a chest, drop off any of these items, use that at all during the full lifespan of a diamond pickaxe, which I think is a pretty decent measurement of how long we've been able to survive down here, and how little I've needed to adjust my inventory space while I've been digging out this entire huge vein. We've got ourselves 46 blocks of raw iron. We can make anvils galore at this point, and we've managed to do all of that on the strength of just having a couple of bundles to tidy some of those odds and ends away. I need to leave the deep dark and get back to the surface, but fortunately there aren't too many skulk sensor and shrieker patches down here, so those have not been too much of an issue. We can grab a bit more glow ink on the way up, as evidently the glow squid are quite keen on falling down here, but it also looks like it's daytime on the surface, so this is looking like a great time to get up here and take stock of everything I was able to gather from down there in the mines. Alright, back at our cartographer's house, I can use this chest to drop off all of the building resources that we've managed to save in our inventory. We could do a really cool tough and deep slate build if we wanted to. I also got a bunch of cobblestone and gravel. Then aside from that, we have a ton of raw iron, raw copper, and redstone blocks. We obviously have the other items to go along with those tucked away here in the bundle, so let me take out some of the lapis. We got the diamonds there as well. We have a little bit more redstone dust. There we go, let's grab that. And then the rest of that is just the odds and ends of mob drops that I picked up along the way, plus the inevitable blocks of granite and andesite that make their way into your inventory whilst you're mining your way down to deep slate levels where you want to really acquire the precious stuff. The other cool part is that if we leave all of the mob drops and whatnot behind, if we don't worry about taking those down there with us or stashing them in the bundle as we go, if we just leave the mob drops where they fall, we can use the bundle to keep track of all of the precious resources very easily. In fact, we could also stash our workstations in the same bundle here, maybe scroll to them when we need them, but it's a really easy way of seeing, okay, I've got a handful of lapis, gold, iron, copper, redstone, and diamonds, and obviously we can keep the bulk resources here in our inventory, and that will give us a really solid track of how much we've got, plus a little extra stashed away here in the bundle. And we can also put bundles inside of bundles, remember, so we could just put our workstation bundle in there, grab that whenever we need it, and we can compact our inventory even further thanks to that. Honestly, I think that's the interaction that's most confusing about bundles now. If I hold this and then I right-click on that, am I putting the bundle from my inventory into the bundle I'm holding, or am I adding the bundle I'm holding to the bundle in my inventory? I still need to try and figure out exactly what the best solution for that is, but honestly, I don't see myself bundling bundles too much. All in all, though, I think bundles are in a much better place than they were a couple of weeks ago. I think having more inventory rows visible is a really great change. I think anything below that is going to feel like it's deep storage anyway. You're not really going to want to fish out any of the stuff that is further down unless you know for sure what's in there, and you can always just throw it on the floor, pick it all up again, and then rebundle it if you want to remember what's in the bundle. The control scheme is something I'm still getting used to, but I am most of the way there now. I think I'd say I'm 90% of the way there with being able to handle these things, and that'll only increase as we get more experience with them in a full survival version. And I believe these are slated to arrive with 1.21.2, so they are being worked on for the next minor update to the current major version of Minecraft that's out, to the Tricky Trials update. Honestly, I think just the ability to scroll through and grab my furnace out like that is a game changer on a level that maybe I wasn't expecting it to be initially, but I'm really happy with now. So I think maybe I'm turning the corner on these new bundles. Maybe I'm starting to feel like they are a great addition after all. Folks, let me know what you think in the comments. I know some people still aren't going to be super fans of bundles, and that's fine, but once again, try and keep your feedback constructive. Try not to focus too much on what you think Mojang should be doing, and think about the bundle specifically and how you think it can help you, because I think, honestly, this will be a really important feature that some people just haven't had the opportunity to get in survival and try yet. So thanks so much for watching this episode. My name has been Pixlriffs. Don't forget to leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you folks soon. Take care. Bye for now.